You gotta get into the groove.
What is going on out there, football fans, and welcome to the Saturday Pigskin, exclusively right here on the OH Report, brought to you by Town and Money Saver. Again, we got a bunch of good-looking people on set for you folks out there watching. Effie James, the one and only. I don't even know that you really need an introduction at this point. He's here every week. The voice of the TY Tigers, the old ball coach, Jack Soliday, is here. Over 20 years on the mic over there at Mansfield Senior High. And our first player perspective coming from Crestline's finest, Ty Clark, here in the building. And guys, week 5 in the books. Can you believe already halfway through the football season? My dude Jeff Allen always says it's the fastest 10 weeks of the year. I think he might be right.
It definitely is. It goes so quick, and you just never know when it's going to explode over in the football field.
And you have the weather is such a huge indicator, because one week you'll come in, it'll be burning up. The next week you come to a game, you got to have a jacket and a hat on. So it goes by very, very quickly.
Ohio, day to day, week to week, you just never know what you're going to get. It's a whole bunch of Forrest Gump out here. Let's go over a couple of the scores from this past Friday night, and let's start with Crestline. Ty, since we got you here, you guys smacked Hawkins 59-7 at home. I know that you were riding a 3-game slide. How good did it feel to not only come out and get a win, but do it in style?
It was one of the better feelings of the season. We've had a lot of ups and downs through injuries and guys quitting here and there, and we just battled through it and snapped the streak.
What do you think enabled you guys to get off for almost a 60 burger on a team like that? How were you able to score that many points?
We were tired of losing, tired of people talking about our offensive efficiency. So we just took it into our own hands, and our offense coordinator, Hastings, called a great game for us and set us up to score.
So Crestline moves to 2-3 on the season. Jack, over at Mansfield Senior, Maple Heights, we were talking off camera. You thought this may be one of the fastest teams that you've ever seen, period.
Definitely. They were a blur compared to even the fast Mansfield Senior teams. They were well coached, they were very efficient, and they just couldn't be stopped last night. I was really impressed with the Mustangs last night.
Mustangs win 38-14, second straight loss for the Tigers against a 5-0 team, though, Coach. Do you feel like there should be any kind of worry for the Tigers, considering the competition that they play?
Well, I think the Tiger youth is starting to show a little bit. They are a young team, but if you look at their record now, they're 2-3, but if you look at their losses, especially now after Norwalk's performance this week, that loss doesn't look so bad earlier in the season. They lose to a tremendous Maple Heights team this week. So they are coming along. I definitely see some improvements. I don't think the staff is pushing the panic button, but I also know that at this point in the season, it's playoff positioning time. So they're going to have a great week of practice and be ready to go for this upcoming week.
Lexington loses at home 17-42 to Wooster. Total yards I saw were really close, and the Minutemen actually won the turnover battle 1-0. What's your guys' thoughts on the Minutemen, and now off to a 1-4 start? And it seems like they play okay, but at the end of the day, they get blown out just about.
They showed really well last week against Mount Vernon, winning 38-0. I think they got into the second half with a lead, and then things just snowballed into turnovers and just allowing the big play from Wooster. They still have a lot of talent on that team, and it'll be interesting next week when they come into Arlen Field for battling Mansfield Senior.
68-13 the final score. West Holmes over Madison, and we know the Rams aren't having a spectacular season. But are these Knights for real? Like 68 points, and they're off to a 5-0 start.
You know, confidence it means a lot, and they got a tremendous win, and I know in conference play wins mean a lot, but them beating Mansfield Senior last week had to be a huge lift for them. And you know, once you start winning and you gain momentum, especially in football, where you know, it's all about the confidence level of each individual player. And if everyone raises their level of confidence, everybody's going to raise their level of play. And when you do that and you got a system that you believe in, a staff that you believe in, you can do a lot of things. And they look like they are rolling. Madison is struggling, but West Holmes looks like a team who's on a mission. They're going to be tough to deal with here going down the stretch.
And this is not your father's West Holmes team
Right.
of lining it up in a wing tee and
Right.
trying to run it up the middle. They're going 4 and 5 wide. They've got a great quarterback. Bridger Klein, and they're throwing the ball all over the field, and they are doing it well. They're the team right now that looks to be in the driver's seat for the Ohio Cardinal Conference.
Another team that really likes to air it out, Ashland Arrows, 41-3. They beat Mount Vernon last night, 41-13, excuse me. Mitch Heilman, 339 total yards, 3 scores. So the OCC is pretty intriguing conference, I would say, right now. I feel like there's really only about 1 or 2 teams that you can count out at this point. Everybody else right there in the mix. This is going to be a fun one.
It is. Ashland is Ashland because they've always had Coach Valentine running the same system. They just plug in play with the quarterback, receivers, and so on. It's really going to be interesting to see how many points are scored in the Ashland-West Holmes game. I'm putting the over-under at 69.
That's it?
It's only 69.
All right, and the MOAC, North Union over Ontario, 47-14, and then Buckeye Valley gets crushed at home by Clear Fork, 44-0. Any surprise to either of you that the Colts are off to this 5-0 start? I know they went 11-0 out the gates last year. They only lost a couple of kids, but, I mean, they're dominating again.
Not for me. I saw last year the talent level at Clear Fork was tremendous for any level. It doesn't matter what division they're in or what league. You know, you start to see speed. You start to see the skill level raise there. And like Coach was saying about West Holmes, they're not your usual traditional Clear Fork team. They're going to open it up. They're going to get the ball in the hands of their weapons, and they've got a lot of weapons, and they've actually got speed in Clear Fork, which makes the difference in a lot of ball games. So that's why their scores are running up, and that's why they are really a problem for a lot of the teams that they're playing. They're playing exceptionally well.
I'm curious to get your perspective on this, Ty, since you're a quarterback and you take every snap, as most quarterbacks do. The last couple of years over at Clear Fork, they've been doing a 2-quarterback system where they really do. They alternate. One drive is yours and the next drive for the other guy. How do you feel like that would be for you as a quarterback? I know that rhythm's a big, big thing for you. Getting one drive and then you're sitting and watching the next.
That can be pretty tough because it'd be hard to find that groove, and it can be tough for the other guys too, switching from different types of plays. And if you got a fast quarterback, obviously you're going to do more run plays with him. But I find that I'm not a big fan of the 2-quarterback offense. You just can't get a rhythm, can't get going.
I've heard some say if you have 2 quarterbacks, that doesn't mean you have one, but I don't know in Clear Fork's case. I feel like they kind of got things figured out over there. In the Northern 10, big game between Mohawk and Seneca East goes to Mohawk 31-24. Both teams were 4-0 to start the day. And then a rivalry game that we got highlights for between Wynford and Colonel Crawford. Let's just get right into it. It's a rivalry game at Wynford. Eagles and Royals both 3-1, trying to get a leg up in the Northern 10 on the other. And the defense in this game was spectacular. Effie, I can tell that already gets you excited. You perk up whenever you hear about D. Lots of opportunistic takeaways on both sides. What a game changer is that, guys? Like, defense getting the ball back for you.
It's everything. When you talk about the course of a game, people think scoring on the offensive end. When you come to a game to watch it, you think offenses, high-flying scoring. But when you can get a defense to put you in position to score or score points themselves and have takeaways, it changes the game every single time.
Blake Sparks had a 10-yard touchdown run. The Royals were up 7-0. Just 3 seconds left in the half, and then Colonel Crawford scored to tie it up. Wynford had so many chances in the second half. They had a couple of interceptions right on the goal line, but Colonel Crawford gave it right back. 2 huge fumbles when they had a chance to take a lead, all setting up the sophomore quarterback Gavin Burris. The go-ahead touchdown run here with under a minute, and it would prove to be the game winner. This looked a lot like the Kevin Dyson play in the Rams-Titans Super Bowl. Look at that. Stopped right on the half-yard line. Colonel Crawford 7, Wynford 14. The Royals still haven't lost a game in Northern 10 play. So I would say that's a pretty quality rivalry here in this area. Just talk a little bit, Jack, since you've seen, I don't know, so many Mansfield Senior games up close and personal. Who would you say at this point is like the Tigers' chief rival? What is your favorite game to be a part of?
One of my favorite games, of course, is the Madison game, always the last game of the season. Going back to my high school days at Malabar, Madison was always our biggest rival. Now it is again for Senior. There's been so many great games between Mansfield Senior and Madison over the years. One of the most impressive games, of course, was this gentleman here to my right.
Shout out.
Throwing the touchdown to Kenny Fairchild in the last waning seconds for a Tiger victory over Madison at Arlen Field. I thought Kenny Fairchild Sr., who was the announcer in those days for the Tiger games, was going to have a heart attack in the press box, but it just when it's Ram week, it gets a little tighter over there. Ashland probably is the most competitive, but Madison still makes them want to play that last week of the season.
What about for you, Ty? Who does year?
Buckeye Central and Lucas. The Lucas, it's been a lopsided in their favor the past however many years, but it's definitely a game we take very serious. Good week of practice, and they're probably one of our biggest rivals, I'd say.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the Cubs, because we're going to see what they did last night, right now, in the Richland Runback. Lucas at home last night against Centennial, traveling to the Cub Den all the way from the Columbus area. And the Cubs, man, they got off to a solid start here. Caden Thomas, here's a touchdown run and an 8-0 lead for Lucas, though their star running back Jeb Grover got hurt in the first quarter. That's probably what you were wondering. Where's 44? Doesn't he usually score all their touchdowns? Yes, he normally does. This guy scores a bunch for them. Jalen Gilbert leaving the Lucas D in a cloud of smoke. By Felicia, 68 yards to the house, but the Cubs would get it going through the air after losing their stud running back. Here's Logan Niswander finding Tristan Arnold for a 16-6 lead early in the first quarter, but after a star safety, the ensuing kick to Syquee Womack, and he is just not interested in going down. Fellas, Coach, we talk every week, 3 phases of the game, another big play.
Absolutely. One of my coaching mentors always told me there's 2 types of people and players. There's Clydesdales and there's Gazelles. And
like
Centennial's got a ton of Gazelles, and speed often kills in these types of games.
They had a ton of big plays. I think that's been a problem, though, for Lucas all season long. We have their highlights every week. They tend to give up some big ones. And down the stretch, the Cubs only down 8 here, fourth quarter, but Niswander is going to be intercepted again for the second time off the tip, so Centennial wins a shootout, 51-36. Let's move on with the Shelby Whippets on the road at Whitney Field in Norwalk. The Whippets were upset last week, we thought, by Bellevue. Started off at 3-0. The Truckers, week 1 we saw against the Mansfield TY Tigers, really take it to them. Would they do it again? The answer is an emphatic yes. Get used to seeing this too. Trevon Raymore dicing up the defense for 18 yards. Then what a catch here by Caden Livingston. He's going to carry the defender all the way in for 6. Truckers ran for over 300 yards and 6 scores in this one. Raymore had 5 of them as they went up big early. And this play is just an indicator of what Shelby had going on for them all night long. Drop balls for first downs, and Raymore back into the end zone over and over again. The Truckers finding Pater. It was 42-0 early in the third. They would run out to a 49-0 win. Surprise.
Very much so. Norwalk has a great team this year. Like you said, Raymore is probably even the second best running back in the conference behind Sandusky's running back, who's averaging 5 touchdowns a week. But Shelby was missing Schwembley, their best player, last night, and that has to be deflating for them. But to get behind to Norwalk, was it 69 or 96 years in a row they've played, or some number, and this is the last one. I think Norwalk wanted to leave them with a parting gift.
Well, here's some gifts into the end zone by Maple Heights taking on Mansfield Senior. And this guy, I don't know if he has a nickname yet, but I'm calling him the Super Freak every week. Don't care. Love this guy, Angelo Gross, breaking off a sensational run there. And then he can do it all, Coach. It's actually his natural position to be split out wide. He goes from quarterback to the wide receiver position, catches a touchdown, brings it in. Mansfield Senior had trimmed the lead down to, I believe, 12-7 at that point, and the Tigers cheerleaders can feel it. It's a comeback. No, just too much team speed out there for Maple Heights, and you were saying these Mustangs, boy, that they have some fast boys out there.
They're extremely quick. They even made some of the Mansfield Senior players look like they were standing still. But Senior High has a different season coming up because they get Gross moving back to wide receiver, and now Todd, the transfer from Ontario, comes in to the quarterback position. And it's a must-win out for the Tigers to make it into the playoffs this year.
So even though it's a loss for the home team there, Arlen, always a good time, I'm sure, for you at those games. What would you say is your favorite part of the job on the PA? You've been doing it for 20 plus years. There's got to be something that brings you back every single week.
It just watching high school football and getting paid to talk while I'm doing a game.
Hey.
I mean, you can't beat that. Plus getting to call the touchdowns, knowing the kids, being at senior high and seeing them in the hallway and talking to them during the week and so on. It's always a pleasure to go out, and that's been a big part of my Friday nights for a long, long time.
What are some in-game rituals now that you have built over your years there that you use to engage the audience and fans? What do people expect from you on a Friday night basis?
Oh, I do try to inject some humor into some of the calls and such, whether it's 5 penalty flags all on the same, it's raining flags, or just something that happens during the game. You just try to have the crowd enjoy being there and listening to the game. It's just not cut and dried. It's a great experience.
And I got to ask you, because Effie brought this to my attention, what is your issue with Lucas? Because every time you read off their score, at first I thought maybe it was just cutting out when I was there a couple weeks ago, but something's going on with you and the Cubs the way you read the scores. Do tell.
Dick Winbigler, our former AD at senior high, always wanted to know what the Lucas score was. Okay. And we would never get it in the press box. With modern technology today, we're getting scores all the time in the press box, but we never used to have scores unless somebody actually called them in on the phone in the press box. Just give a partial Lucas score, and we'd say Lucas, and that would be it. And that was kind of like an inside joke to Dick Winbigler and some of the other people that were in on it.
Well, Lucas Ty is your next opponent, and they're actually on a pretty nice run here over the last several seasons. I'm sure they were irrelevant back there when you first started this thing, but the Cubs have been playing some pretty good football. How crucial would you say this game is for you, this next one, to, if you're trying to stay in the playoff picture, get a victory?
It's very crucial, and I think the guys know that, and we're going to come out on a whole new level. It's a must-win game.
What are your impressions of the 2-3 start? Because we had talks before the season, and I know that there was more optimism around the football team than there had been in about a decade, since some people over at the school were saying. Why do you think that you guys weren't able to string together wins like you thought you would?
I think we all got caught up in the hype, and kind of after the first game we kind of shot our wad, and we really just thought we were all that and some, and then reality hit us, and I think we're finally all back together as one, and there's a whole different vibe after this win than after the week 1 win, and I think it humbled us going on that losing streak, and we're ready for some wins.
17-8 is the combined record of your next 5 opponents, so you probably will have an opportunity to play yourself into the playoffs with some wins over the next several weeks. How confident are you in the group now after what you did last night that you can move forward and you can churn out maybe 3, 4, 5 wins over the second half stretch?
I'm very confident. The offensive line has improved dramatically, and our receivers, I got some of the best receivers in the area, I truly do. And the way our defense been playing, I got a good feeling about the rest of the year.
59-7, you beat down Hawken last night. You had a pretty good game. I have the feeling that we're going to be seeing you again right now in Friday Night Phenoms, brought to you by MWD Logistics.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before. 1, 2, 3, listen.
Let's kick things off with Trevon Raymore, the Norwalk Senior running back. Those numbers are absolutely staggering, or at least they would be if it wasn't something that he's doing every single week. This kid's already closing in on 1,000 for the season, has 12 touchdown runs. When you see him on tape, how impressed is this whole room with what you're seeing from Mr. Raymore?
I like the speed that he shows, and then the power. I'm also impressed with his offensive line. The way they block for him is tremendous, and he makes what could be good plays into great plays with his tremendous speed. He looks like he's got all the tools. I haven't seen him a whole lot this season, but from what he's shown and what his numbers have, what the numbers he has produced, he's certainly a big time back, and he's really making Norwalk a difference maker in this area.
Bet you'd like to have a guy like that behind you, Ty.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Could be useful. 5 tutties again this week for Trevon Raymore. Shelby still having nightmares about him today. Hey, this guy looks familiar. 12 of 17, just 5 incompletions, 5 touchdowns through the air. Tell me about just showing out, though, against Hawken in your 5 touchdown passes.
I mean, it was mainly the receivers. They were just catching everything. They were quick. They were better than their DBs. And the way our running backs ran the ball opened things up. All 4 or 5 of our running backs we put in there really balled out. I just got to give credit to the O-line, too, because they've improved a lot over these past 3 weeks.
I mean, film looks a little bit grainy out there. The pictures are sharp, though. You were sharp, too, in the game, Ty. Only missing 5 passes, or what do you think played into that you were able to be so efficient through the air?
I think the way we've been working with it, we've been doing extra work with receivers and quarterbacks during practice, longer practices. We got that connection back like we did from week 1.
So that's one quarterback showing out last night. This next award, it's going to go to a pair of quarterbacks, the two-headed monster from Clear Fork, Jared Schaefer and Brennen South. School record 315 passing yards, fellas, combined.
There were some seasons in Belleville, Clear Fork quarterbacks didn't have 315 yards for a season.
Right.
So it's tremendous that they have those 2 quarterbacks and are playing so well. I'm really looking forward to the clash with Marion Pleasant, because both teams should be undefeated, and that would be for the MOAC championship without a doubt.
And Effie, you played the position. Like, how impressive is it to you the fact that it's 2 guys coming in? Like, they're really not getting a total feel for the game.
Yeah, I'm with Ty on this one. I couldn't imagine having to go in for a series and then come out for a series. But you know, one thing I know about this sport is if you work on it, you rep it in practice, and that's your system, you certainly can adjust to it, and they look to have adjusted well. This is the first time they played 2 quarterbacks down in Clear Fork anyway.
44-0 win for them over Buckeye Valley. Logan, Niswander for the Cubs. They would lose 51-36 in their game against Centennial. I threw him on this list, though, because going into the week, I guaranteed that it was just toss it to Jeb, toss it to Jeb, hand it to Jeb, give it to Jeb. He goes out in the first quarter, and this guy comes into the game, 213 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, had a successful 2-point conversion in the first half, actually had his team up double digits. It was looking pretty good, and it just fell apart in the end once they got a little read on him. So I was impressed the fact that they didn't game plan probably to throw it much, and he was able to be pretty successful.
Well, I think sometimes when you practice and you've got such a workhorse like they do in their running back, you don't get to expose some of the talent that you may have at quarterback, because it's better game plan-wise for you to run the football, but he got a chance and his opportunity to show his skills, and it worked out for him this week.
And last but not least, I got to give love where I think it's due. Wynford and Colonel Crawford, I got to see this in person on the sidelines last night, and I didn't think it was bad offense. I thought it was great defense last night, and the opportunistic play, forcing 7 total turnovers. I mean, they were taking away the ball, did Colonel Crawford, in the red zone, I want to say 4 times. All 4 of their turnovers were when Wynford was about to score. I just love it, man. I think those are big-time game-changing plays, and there was a lot of them in this game.
Well, it's a culture defensively. If you can create a culture of taking the ball away from the offense and your defense starts to play a different way, the guys, instead of looking to knock the ball down, they're looking to pick it off. Instead of looking to just make a big hit, they're looking to rip the ball out of the running back. So it's a culture defensively about getting the ball and taking the ball away from your defense. And the great defenses are ones that take the ball away, and both of these teams done a great job of that last night.
Looking like the Cleveland Browns last night, guys, winning the turnover battle in a major way. Both of these teams, I thought the defenses were excellent. Very worthy this week of being named Friday Night Phenoms. Brought to you again by MWD Logistics. All right, gents, just a couple minutes left here. What are your overall takeaways through 5 weeks of the season, Jack? It can be Mansfield Tigers, any area team that stuck out to you. What's really stood out for 5 weeks?
I think there's a big discrepancy between the top teams in the area and the bottom teams in the area. There's not a whole lot in the middle. You're either doing extremely well or you're doing kind of poorly on the season, a lot less expectations than what you had achieved. I'm really looking forward to some of these games down the road in the last 5 weeks of the season, where you're going to have undefeated teams or undefeated teams against one-loss teams, and that really is going to make some Friday night excitement around the Richland County area.
What about you, Effie? What gets the hairs on your arm standing up these first 5 weeks?
Well, I always like the second half of the season because by this time your team is what I call it, they're exposed. Now you are who you are at this time, and now we're starting to see, that Shelby loss at Norwalk was surprising, and the Bellevue games and all of that. But we go into the season thinking, well, this team's great, but then over time you start to think, well, maybe not. Or teams realize that they came in the season thinking they were a passing team and realized, no, we are a running team. And so now within the great change, one of the changes that's coming with Mansfield Senior, like Coach talked about, now they have a pure passing quarterback coming into the fold, and that's going to change who they are offensively. So I'm excited to see all the area teams and coming down the stretch, and playoff positioning plays a part. And now a lot of these teams are in must-win situations and also in the hunt for their conference championships.
To piggyback a little bit off of what you said about the Whippets, they lose just one guy in Uriah Schwemley. And usually in basketball, you can say, well, it makes a big difference. No, LeBron James, of course, we're going, 8 and 12 down the stretch. They lose one guy. Not only can they not move the football, they can't stop nobody. I thought that really stood out to me from this past Friday. And how about the Clear Fork Colts? They're averaging 48 points per game. They've only given up 36 all year. This team's a lot better than I thought that they were going to be. I thought they would be very competitive again, but man, they are just smacking folks around. Over at Crestline, what is your final take, Ty? What's happening with the Bulldogs?
We're still playoff bound, I believe. We do good under pressure, and we're in the must-win games, and we're just going to show them how Bulldogs play.
You heard it here first, guys. Crestline going to the playoffs. We'll find out over the next several weeks who else is going to join them. Join us again next Saturday right here on the Pigskin.